Have you ever felt that moment of envy? Watching a dog and his owner stride in perfect sync, wondering why your walks feel more like a tug-of-war rather than a peaceful stroll. I've been there with my Labrador Max, who has transformed daily walks into a test of wills and strength. When Max was a puppy, he was a furry bundle of joy with an insatiable curiosity that seemed endearing, until it came time for walks. Leash in hand, I dreamed of leisurely walks through the park, but Max had other ideas. Every squirrel was a sprint. Every passerby, a new best friend. I tried every trick in the book, from stern "no" commands to the gentlest of tugs, but nothing seemed to steer Max away from his pulling antics. It was during a particularly memorable walk, as Max chased a leaf blowing in the wind, dragging me along like a kite in a storm, that I realized something had to change. I remember when I first tried to teach my lab, Max, how to walk on a leash without making it a tug-of-war. I started with the standard 6-foot leash, thinking tighter control would make for better training. It didn't take long to realize that Max was uncomfortable. He was pulling more, not less. It was a battle of wills, and neither of us was enjoying our walks. But then I switched gears. After doing some research, I swapped the short leash for a 30-foot lead, and what a difference it made. With this longer line, Max could trot ahead, sniff to his heart's content, and just be a dog. There was no forced marching by my side. He was free to explore, yet still under my watch. Introducing Max to the long lead was a process we both had to get comfortable with. At first, he didn't know what to make of the extra freedom, but instead of imposing tight control, I gave him the space to understand this new arrangement. Watching him, I could see his confidence grow as he roamed a little further, nose to the ground, tail in the air. We practiced in a quiet park where Max could indulge his curiosity. This space gave him room to roam without me constantly correcting him, and something amazing happened. Without the tension of a short leash, he stopped pulling. He seemed to understand the balance between freedom and following my lead. As Max became more familiar with the longer lead, he began to glance back at me, checking in mid-sniff or mid-stride. These moments were like silent conversations, opportunities for me to give a gentle nod or a soft call, guiding him with subtle cues instead of a taut leash. These check-ins became our thing, his way of saying, "I'm exploring, but I'm still with you." It was the trust in these looks that formed the foundation of our relationship, far more than any physical restraint ever could. With the long lead as our ally, Max learned to enjoy his freedom without forgetting his invisible bond that connected us, the bond of mutual trust in the silent language of our shared walks. When I took Max out to the trails, where the smells of wildlife filled the air, I really grasped the importance of letting him explore. Watching him sniff and track invisible trails, I could almost see the wheels turning in his head. It was clear that this sniffing wasn't just fun for him, it was a need, something as vital to him as walking itself. I realized that allowing Max to use his nose was the key to better leash manners. It wasn't about just pulling back on the leash and expecting him to ignore his canine instincts. By factoring in his desire to smell everything he could, I was addressing the very thing that made him pull on the leash in the first place. Letting him indulge in his sniffing adventures on a long lead turned our walks from a test of wills into a fulfilling activity that satisfied his sensory cravings. As a result, Max became more attentive and responsive to my guidance on the leash, naturally reducing his tendency to pull. It wasn't about suppressing his desires, it was about channeling them into a positive walking experience. Training my lab Max to walk nicely on a leash was more than just about the gear I used. It was a deep dive into his doggy psyche. I had to acknowledge that his pace was naturally quicker than mine, powered by an insatiable curiosity and an instinct to scope out every new scent in sight. I came to understand that teaching Max leash manners was a different ballgame from the usual sit and stay routine. It was a dance that required a rhythm only established through solid communication and mutual understanding. Before we could master the walk, we had to nail the basics: come, look at me, and stay, were the ABCs of our training vocabulary. These commands weren't just tricks, they were the crucial groundwork that set us up for success. In essence, getting Max to walk on a leash without pulling was about tuning into his natural behaviors and building on the trust and commands we'd already established. It was this blend of recognizing his instincts and reinforcing our bond that eventually made our on-leash walks a harmonious experience. When Max and I tackled the hustle of city life, the spacious fields and quiet paths we trained on seemed worlds away. We started in the quieter streets, his long lead now a memory as I shortened the distance between us, matching the rhythm of our new environment. The city was a ballet of distractions, the dart of a pigeon, a squirrel scampering up a tree, and other dogs with their own agendas. Each was a test, a moment where Max had to remember the impulse control that the long lead had taught him. Stay, I'd say, and he'd pause, eyes on me amidst the chaos, waiting for the okay before bounding forward again. I kept our training as consistent as our morning walks, a routine as regular as the streetlights lining our path. The key was patience, understanding that each busy street corner, every surprise appearance of a neighborhood cat was a part of the journey, not an obstacle. And with every step on the shorter leash, Max carried the confidence we built on the long one. The same focus, the same check-ins, now just a shorter physical connection, but the bond, that remained unaltered. Praise flowed freely. Treats appeared for every success. And with time, the city's pulse became just another backdrop to our daily dance, a testament to the adaptability and trust between a dog and his owner. Max's transformation from a leash-pulling pup to a well-behaved walking buddy shows that with patience and understanding, training can be a success. For those on a similar journey, remember that a leash is more than a restraint. It's a way to communicate with your dog. Consider the steps you can take to adapt your training to your dog's natural behaviors and instincts. What takeaways did you gather from Max's leash training journey? Can you see yourself applying similar tactics with your own pup? Comment down below. I'd love to hear how you're planning to put these strategies into action.